see through the plot. Hidden signs, clues they thought I forgot. Maps upside down, no ground to the sky. Truth on my mind while the world asks why. Oh, chasing what they hide. Oh, tinfoil on tonight. Ancient towers crumble, but secrets remain. Stories of Tartaria lost in the rain. False flags waving, a shadow parade. Digging for answers they want to evade. Picture perfect on the news, but I see the lines. Never take the story straight, I read between signs. Tinfoil hat on, I see through the plot. Hidden signs, clues they thought I forgot. Maps upside down, no ground to the sky. Truth on my mind while the world asks why. Oh, chasing what they hide. Oh, tinfoil on tonight.
Hello, my friends. Hello. Good Saturday to you. I thought I'd bring something a little bit spontaneous to you on this pagan ritual day. I was trying to catch an early afternoon in between football matches and maybe catch a few people off guard, but I can see sexy boys already in the house. Big up to you, official Shawn Michaels. Nice seeing you all. Thank you very much for your attention. I really appreciate people tuning in. I can obviously read the comments now, so I'm getting a bit more used to all of this mumbo jumbo. But anyway, like I said, I wanted to wish you all a good Saturday. Hope you're all having a good Valentine's Day with your loved ones. I've been reading a lot of misconceptions about what today means and where it comes from and the origins of this. So, you know, being well versed in these kind of things, I thought, let me tell a few people what today actually means and where the sort of origins of it all comes from. So I just thought I'd bring you quite a short video. Don't intend to be here too long today. So sorry if I'm interrupting anyone else's streams, or you know, you got other stuff going on the way to football matches. Maybe you can pick up a bit later on. But anyway, thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for all the love we've been getting on the channel over the last nearly 2 weeks old now. A 2-week-old channel. I love it, honestly. I just sometimes, you know, not quite sure what to talk about. I've got so many things to talk about. But, you know, towards the end of this video, I'll give you a few of the ideas of what I've come up with, and, you know, I'll be looking forward to seeing some of your feedback. But anyway, like I said, wish you all a really good Saturday. I hope you're doing what you love to do with the ones you love to do it with, and enjoy your Valentine's Day. Don't let this video put you off any of the sharing and giving that, you know, we all notoriously do on this day. So a lot of you may know that Saint Valentine's Day, or Valentine's Day, you know, originates from a pagan ritual. Some of you might not, but, you know, I'm here to enlighten you if you don't. But firstly, today is YouTube's birthday. So before we get into that, let's wish you YouTube, who, you know, coincidentally are born today, 26 years ago. Was it the 14th of February, 2005? So happy birthday to YouTube, giving us a platform to tell the world these days and being quite nice without censoring all the content. So, you know, big up to them. Fair play. Good job you're doing. But Valentine's Day, like I said, was an original pagan holiday. The Lupercalia is the actual name. St. Valentine's Day itself was a ritual that people would take part in, predominantly males, and they would strip naked and sacrifice goats and dogs. And with the hinds of the animals that they sacrificed, they would, you know, strike young, fertile women for a fertility kind of purpose. That's where the ritual actually originates from originally. The first man named Valentine was Lupercus, the hunter. Now, he's also referred to as Nimrod. He's come up in a few of our shows on the Rabbit Hole Ramblings, but he ties into this pagan holiday. So, get in your seats. He was the king of Babylonia. A lot of you probably are aware of that already. He was a worshipper of Baal and known as the mighty hunter. Again, this is where this pagan holiday originates from. And he was the Romans' Lupercus. Lupercalia is the blood ritual, and it falls over a few-day period. It's not just today. Today is the center point. This evening marks the center point of the holiday. The holiday actually starts on the 13th of February and goes through to the 15th of February. So we have yesterday, today, and tomorrow. But the culmination, the highest energy point, is actually this evening, which is why it's built around tonight and, whatever it is that you do with your loved ones. That's where the kind of original sort of concept from it all come from. Valentine's Day, or Lupercalia, it's just another occult holiday. It celebrates Osiris, Moloch, Ra, Baal, Lucifer, Saturn, all these sort of occult figures that we're, becoming more and more sort of familiar with. They all represent the occult, esoteric, mystery schools and basically religious sun worship. This, again, is the origins of the actual holiday. Astrotheologists, this is just one of their holidays. They've got many through the course of the year that we've become accustomed to, that they still keep in our, modern history and modern days. But this is one of the more popular ones. Lots of sacrifice happens today. Well, why would you believe it or not? Behind closed doors, that's quite a popular theme in, what this actual holiday celebrates. So, keep your loved ones locked up and, keep the children behind closed doors, because that's quite a big thing around the world that actually happens today, which is quite scary. And it peaks in the middle of the evening tonight. So this evening, between the hours of 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. is the peak hours. In ancient times, Babylonia, the solstice occurred on January the 6th. Now, January the 6th was Nimrod's true birthday. And what actually would happen was, it was custom for the mother of a male child to be presenting herself for purification on this particular day. So the 40th day after his birth was the purification day of the mothers. So it ties into the 40 days, 40 nights that we've sort of heard of in the Bible. But there seems to be a sort of theme about the 40 days, 40 nights. The Lupercalia celebration begins on this evening, like I said, and Nimrod was the original Saint Valentine. Some people believe that the story originates from a priest in 269 AD that was marrying Christians and was sacrificed on this day. And this was some sort of type of attribution to him, some sort of homage to him. But I don't think that's the case. And from the research that I've done extensively, this isn't the case. Hello there, Ghosted as well. We've got a few familiar faces in there. Thank you for your contributions on the channel. And obviously, Sean Michael, see a few of you in the chat. Really do appreciate your attention. And like I said, I won't be keeping you long today. I just want to make sure that you're aware what you're in for. Today's quite a symbolic day. The name Valentine, it originated obviously in Rome. It's a Roman name. You might know that a lot of Italian, probably not so much in our generation, but you probably find in our parents' generations, there was quite a lot of people named Valentine. It's a beautiful name. Don't get me wrong. I love the name, actually, to be honest. But it originates in Rome. There's lots of actual men called Valentine in Rome. Valentine was also known as Saturn, which obviously is Satan, and Nimrod, the Roman Babylonian god who hid from his pursuers in a secret place. Now, the word Saturn is derived from Semitic Babylonians. It means to be hid, hide self, secret, conceal. This sort of type of terminology is what the actual meanings behind the word is. The original Hebrew word for this, which is the Latin for Saturn, is derived and used, I think it's 83 times in the Old Testament. So it's been around for generations and, is well documented. The name Valentine was also common, like I said, name in Roman times. It was a reason to honor the gods. And this is why a lot of people were given this name to their children, because obviously it's one of the gods that they prayed to and worshipped to. They believed to give them good luck, but this is, a lack of information maybe at the time for the reason why they do this. The Greeks actually called this particular holiday Pan. So you might also see as well, a lot of people referring today as Pan. In Spanish, that actually means bread, but in Greek, Pan is the holiday that they celebrate today. The Semites called it Baal. So they all mean the same thing. If you see somewhere on your timeline today, the words Pan or Lupercus, Baal, it's all the same thing. It all basically translates into the same thing. Baal is often obviously mentioned in the Bible. And this was just merely another name for Nimrod. As I said before, it's the mighty hunter from Genesis 10.9. Now, a lot of people are familiar with the sort of materialistic side of Valentine's Day. You know, we've all been accustomed to buying the red roses and, you know, the confectionery, the flowers, the cards, all this stuff. But, you know, one thing that seems to go through the day is blood red. Blood red goes through the whole day and through the whole holiday period. This is not by coincidence. Like I said, it is a sacrificial day. And this is the reason why we have the red roses, the red everything. You probably see it if you walk into the supermarket today, you're just going to be blasted with all sorts of different types of red. But again, this is the reason for the color on this particular day. It's beautiful color, everyone. Nothing against red. Just this is why it ties into this day so vividly. Also, as well, you know, today's like I said, a big marketing day. It was also, you know, earmarked by De Beers, the diamond company, to promote diamonds back in the day. This was one of their more popular holidays where they would sell a lot of rings. Rings themselves, you know, they are attributed to Saturn as well. It's a sign of worship. You may be familiar with the movies Lord of the Rings. This is all worshiping to Satan. The ring symbolizes binding, cycles, contracts, and obviously, you know, Saturday, which happens to be today, was attributed to Saturn on this day. So this is Satan's day, Saturday, St. Valentine's Day. I thought it'd be perfect to come and sort of tell you a little bit of this information and why it all coincides today. So that's where the origins, I believe, come from. Depending what you may read on the internet, you know, you might feel something different, but that's where I've always sort of originated the idea. I don't take the holiday today too seriously. Obviously, it's nice to be in love and stuff like that and celebrate that every single day. You don't need one particular day of the year to do that. So if you are out buying roses or whatever for your loved ones, you know, make sure you just don't do it today. Do it regularly. Do it once a week. Do it every Saturday. But I hope you've all been well on your ends. I hope you all have fantastic weeks. I wanted just to talk about a couple of things as well. Obviously, we've had some updates in the Epstein stuff this week. Now, as I said to you on the very first video, download those files because they are redacting them. It's been proven this week. They're blacking out pages. Some of them downloads don't work no more. So it was fantastic advice for me to tell you to do so. I do believe they will go missing. I do believe at some point these videos will disappear and they won't be. You probably have to sell them on the internet. You know, if nothing else, you could probably download them, keep them, and you know the original ones that have been downloaded, you could probably make some money out of. But if you're a conspiracy theorist, you want to go into these at a later date as more information comes to light. You know, I definitely would, you know, recommend having these on file. Some of the stuff I found over the last week or two, linking to the UK government. Now, you may have read some of these files yourself, but Steve Bannon is in obviously a lot of these emails to Jeffrey Epstein on the emails, JEE vacations we've shown before. I've come up with a few actually that are quite interesting. It ties into the period of Theresa May being switched over from Boris Johnson, the prime ministers in the UK. There seems to be some sort of type of collusion in the interest of taking over the country. You know, there's actually a few different emails that are talking about conquering England, like internally through politics. And it seems to be that there's emails, you know, confirming that Steve Bannon was in the UK and he's obviously in an allegiance with Jeffrey Epstein. And they have some sort of interest in not only getting the military secrets that we've heard about from obviously Mandelson, but there seems to be some sort of type of taking control and power of the government. This is quite scandalous, I find. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see these particular emails be even further redacted. It's sad that you're seeing these files now. You've got the pages and pages of black sheets. You know, that wasn't there when I first downloaded them on the very first days they become available. So, like I said, I think there's you know, a lot of conspiracies that need to be built out here. There should definitely be some investigations that take place. You know, the FBI director, Kash Patel in America, you know, they said that there's nothing in these files that are incriminating enough to bring any cases or investigations. I think this guy has completely committed treason and perjury, you know, in front of Congress and in court. There clearly is a lot of stuff here that, you know, could definitely start investigations. Now, convictions, I'm not sure because they've redacted everything. So, you know, until we actually get to see all of the files, you know, who knows exactly, you know, the co-conspirators and the, you know, the interest these people were up to, but there's still 3.4 million files that haven't been uploaded yet. So we want to try and encourage people to speak out about this. You know, I think the only way we're going to see these 3.4 million that have been completely withdrawn is by people being aware of what's going on with these files. You know, I think that's why it's important to keep talking about it. I think it's definitely of people's interest to download these files as well, so we can reference them later on when they go missing. So yeah, like I said, there seems to be a lot of conspiracies going on behind the scenes here. Lots of things going on in terms of evil, devilish stuff. You know, we will be careful with the words we use here, but there seems to be a lot of miners in all of these files. I've been scrolling through the pictures as well. Lots of very, very dark stuff. Nice to see you, Scott Spur. Nice to see all the people in here. Low frequency color, low chakra too. Yeah, I agree with you. I've got a yellow on today because I'm going to try and get a better my complexion. I'm actually going out myself later on, not too long from now. So yeah, thank you very much. Do appreciate all the compliments, all the comments, things like this. But yeah, definitely these files are bad. I don't know how many of you actually downloaded these files, or you're just trusting somebody like me to sort of give you sort of some updates on it. But as I said, I have been compiling on my whiteboard some big dossiers on each of these people. There seems to be more information coming to light, so it seems a little bit premature to start making wild allegations. One in particular, which will be one of the subjects of the next videos, will be Bill Gates. There seems to be a lot of scandalous stuff about his connections to Jeffrey Epstein, and the thing that I'm focusing on right now is the pandemic response stuff. You know, a lot of people have asked me about the COVID vaccinations and CV-19 and all this period. Yeah, as you may have known from one of the other shows I've done on the rabbit hole, you know, I'm quite an advocate against this stuff. I was against this stuff from the beginning. I felt it down deep in my soul that there was something wrong with all this. Obviously, didn't listen to anything they told us. I didn't wear a mask, didn't get jabbed, didn't do any of that kind of stuff. You know, completely defiant all the way from start to finish. It probably cost me a lot more than it was worth at the time, but you know, keeping your soul is probably worth more than you know, a little bit of money and stuff like that. But I know a lot of people have made out of work because of it and have been sick because of it. One of my next episodes will be solely focused on that, which I know a lot of people will be interested to hear about. I know a few people are not too familiar, but my opinions on this subject are, you know, a little bit wild, but you know, do seem to rub a few people up the wrong way. But that's one of the ones that's going to be coming up in the next episode. I do intend to bring some lives. I've been talking to a few people this week from my conspiracy circle friends, from, you know, people I've grown up with that are in these kind of like circles of information as well. You know, we're looking forward to doing that as well. So there's lots of lives that are planned going forward. I was hoping to do one this weekend, but as you can probably appreciate, people were, you know, with their loved ones tonight, and you know, I didn't want to bother too many people. But you know, I'm looking to line up some lives as well, which is good. We can talk about all sorts of different subjects. I'm looking forward to bringing some more catchy songs to the channel as well, which I'm working on right now. I do love a catchy song. There's nothing better than a little, you know, catchy song. I'm going to try and do one or two, you know, every now and again to sort of tie in with the theme of a video. I think it's just, you know, good engagement and lightheartedness that goes with some of these sort of more serious subjects. So the new subjects I've sort of got lined up that I've been sort of compiling, like I said, the CV-19 stuff and the vaccinations. You know, one that I love as well is the Tartaria stuff. A lot of this stuff needs to have projection. You need to be able to show photo evidence and stuff like that as well with this stuff. So it makes it a little bit more difficult with the sort of setup right now. But I do intend to sort of bring that back, you know, into it a bit later on as we get into these subjects. I want to make sure that I can show you what I'm talking about, not just talking about it and just assume that you're going to go away and look at it. Sometimes the visualizations actually help sort of bring the point across. So we're working all of that. One of my other sort of really favorite theories right now is the meltology theory. A lot of people may be familiar with it, may not be familiar with it, but you know, a lot of the melted buildings, melted mountains, you know, things like this that are all over the world. It's the signs of some sort of type of catastrophic event that's happened in sort of in our history that's not documented. So, you know, I love stuff like this that ties in with history and, you know, things of this nature. That'll be quite a fascinating episode. But again, I think you need to have the visualizations that sort of go with that, because there's a lot of evidence that, you know, I can talk about, but probably won't make a lot of sense until you see it. You know, it's one of those see it to believe it kind of jobbies. The real world maps, again, a lot of you will probably know my my stance on what it is we live on and where we live. But, you know, old maps, old places, you know, things like this is, again, really hot topic for me, stuff that I love and get fascinated sort of indulging in and diving into. Obviously, we're going to keep updating as we go along with the Epstein stuff as well. You know, I think, as I said, more information comes to light. I would love to see some sort of type of like prosecutions. I think it's really important that we do see prosecutions on that subject. I think we need to see investigations. I think the world is ready to actually learn what's been going on behind these big, powerful scenes, you know, and I think there's no turning back now. I'm not sure how a lot of you feel about it all. But yeah, like I think we all need to have a little bit, I wouldn't say closure, but a little bit more accountability for you know, what's been happening in these circles for a long, long time. It ties into a few other stories as well. You know, I don't believe Epstein was the first guy to do this. There's a few other characters with secret places, you know, that I've mentioned before, such as, you know, Richard Branson, you know, Peter Nygaard. You know, this stuff's been going on for a long, long time, long before Epstein. So, you know, I think Epstein is just the starting point. But like I said, it's a good sort of, you know, subject for people being aware of and being familiarized with. Now, someone has suggested in the comments as well, I think on one of the videos, Rick Simpson. This is the cannabis oil guy. I'm actually quite familiar with him. A lot of you might not know, but I'm an advocate of CBD oil and cannabis oils. I have been in these circles for, you know, many, many years. Actually a user of CBD oil quite frequently. I love and believe all this stuff. You know, a lot of people have, you know, been taken away from the medical side of that oils. It's a really good subject for me as well to sort of discuss with people, answer questions. It has lots of healing benefits. Only 100 years ago in the US alone, 100 out of 134 treatments that are available in a pharmacy were actually derived from oils, from sort of cannabis oils. So if you went to your doctor 100 years ago, pretty much anything went in there with, you was prescribed these types of oils, but they've been hugely suppressed over recent years, you know, in the last, since World War II in particular, since the big pharmaceutical companies that have come in, that again, we'll talk about in one of the, probably the CB19 episodes, they've kind of actually made money out of keeping people unhealthy. So I love the Rick Simpson suggestion. Obviously, I don't need to be too well versed in it. I'm actually quite familiar with a lot of it. I've met Mr. Nice here as well. He was an advocate of that before he died. Very, very nice man. You might know the story of Mr. Nice. If you don't, you know, go and buy his book. But yeah, he was a friend of mine, someone that I did know, met in the clubs here in Barcelona. And yeah, in the circles, these particular circles, most of the people that actually are familiar with, you know, the benefits of herbal medicines, they all actually use oils, some sort of type of oils, predominantly CBD. So, you know, there's companies in the UK. Matt Tissi, actually, again, a friend of mine who I say a friend of mine, someone that I'm associated with. He sent me out some products from a company in the UK called Supreme CBD, based out of Liverpool. Fantastic product. I know it's very difficult to obtain this in the UK. Now that you can, obviously the laws are starting to get a bit more relaxed. I would definitely suggest people look into, you know, the benefits of CBD oils. You can actually get them in gummies these days, stuff like that, in sweets. When you use them in sweets, you actually get a lot more benefits. It goes straight into your blood system with the sugars. So there are benefits of using both, but I don't actually use the sweets myself. I just use the sort of old school oils. But yeah, like I said, it's a really good subject. It's one that a lot of people are going to have a lot of opinions on because of the conditioning that we've received since we were children about not using this stuff. It's a kind of spell that needs to be broken. So yeah, I look forward to talking about that a lot more in one of the future episodes. We're hoping to do a rabbit hole potentially tonight. So I know a lot of you probably come over from there. I'm originally from London. Shawn Michaels, originally just out south of London, where I'm originally from. For the last 20 years, I've lived out here in Spain. I saw how the UK was going. Not really a big fan of, you know, the way that the UK was running. Decided I wanted sort of a different path for myself as a young man, and decided that Spain was the way forward for me. You know, it was quite well travelled. I've been in many, many different industries, from finance to, you know, actual travel industries, sales, all different types of things, banking. Was fortunate enough to travel the world a little bit, Australia, America, all over Europe, Dubai. I lived in Dubai when it was sort of emerging and stuff like that as well. But I found that, you know, for what I wanted out of my life, I quite liked Spain in particular. It had the nice climate, it had the easy living, it had the more relaxed atmosphere. It wasn't so fast paced like London. You know, when you work in finance in London, I'm sure Sean from the Rabbit Hole will attribute to it, everything's about work. You know, you get home from work, you're tired, it's sleep, back up in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, on the trains, in the rain, umbrellas. You know, it's just a miserable life, you know, even though the money can be good. You know, like I said, I think there's a importance to having a work-life balance. So appreciate the question there. From my family from Dartford, but my dad was Bexley Heath, so sort of Woolwich, Bexley Heath kind of area. That's where my family originally come from. I was born in that kind of area, and gradually, as we got older and went to schools, we moved a bit more sort of down south. But yeah, know the areas really, really well. You're probably a Charlton fan. I see, you know, a lot of people in the comments here. So yeah, I really do appreciate it. But yeah, like the city's just not the way for a lot of people these days. You know, my brother is actually a director of a big bank in London, and he makes fantastic money, but you know, he doesn't seem to be that happy with is work-life balance. And yeah, I can appreciate people that are moving out the UK. I know a lot of people have decided to move out the UK. A few YouTubers that I'm familiar with, I've noticed a lot of them are actually leaving the UK. Some of the biggest YouTubers in the world from UK have actually moved away as well. So there's definitely a trend here that's happening. I was one of the OGs though. I did it before it was popular. You know, I just decided for myself many years ago that I didn't want to live in the UK. It's miserable. They take so much money off your taxes. You know, like there's no sunshine. You know, now that they've got all this immigration issue and stuff like that, there seems to be a dilution of the population as well, which will be one of the topics we'll talk about as well. The immigration issue. It's not only in the UK that's happening. It just seems to be more prominent there because it's such a small little island of, you know, 60 million people, whatever, crammed into a little space. You could just see it more when you look around, you know. But anyway, we'll talk about these things another time. I'm sure, I think we might have a rabbit hole later on this evening or tomorrow. Trying to get more of these going. But, you know, I know obviously Sean over there is quite a busy guy with what's been going on with obviously Tottenham and stuff like that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, if he can be free tonight, I can be available potentially. I want to say thank you as well. Like in regards to the contributions I've been getting, lots of people sending me lots of love. I plugged obviously the Patreon link in the last email, in the last video. But if anyone does want to show their general support to the channel as it grows, we're hoping to pump out a lot of good content. You know, going forward, I think the Patreon way is the best way for anyone to show their general support to the channel. It's a way where I can actually give you more for your contributions as well. Here, what I've been doing is building up the catalogues there. I've uploaded some information about the Beatles on there as well. I'm going to be uploading more and more information about each of the subjects. So people keep asking me. We're getting closer to monetization, actually, believe it or not. You know, a couple of these little jingles and subscriber counts go up, and we're actually creeping up quite quickly. So I'm surprised, actually, to be honest, it's been so quick to do so. But this is down to you, and I thank you all so much for your support in whichever way you show it, whether it be a like, a subscribe, a comment. But like I said, the Patreon account is in the description there. If anyone does want to, you know, show their sort of support on it, is greatly appreciated. In the Patreon as well, I've been doing is compiling the evidence for the Beatles stuff. The last video I did, I believe, during the week, the Beatles episode, a lot of people seem to like it. Got a few sort of personal sort of comments about it as well. It's a fascinating story. A lot of people don't know about it. You know, some people actually contacted me directly. I didn't even know this story existed. And this is the whole purpose of this channel. You know, we've acquired quite a lot of wild information over the years. So, you know, I want to be able to sort of show you how I've got to the conclusions I've got to. And that's where the Patreon could be, you know, beneficial to me to give back to people that support the channel. So I've also started to do the crypto file as well on there. I mentioned on one of the previous episodes as well, I've been involved with crypto a long time. There's lots of theories around crypto, not in terms of like giving financial advice of what to buy, but in terms of like the origins of it, going forward, the purpose of it, you know, why this will be integrated into society, all this kind of stuff. And, you know, in these Epstein files, we're seeing a lot of, you know, concrete evidence now that these circles of power that, you know, are contacting with Jeffrey Epstein are all involved with the foundations of these Bitcoins and these other top cryptocurrencies. So, you know, it's good to be able to file all this information in one place so that we can obviously reference this at a later stage. But other than that, like I said, I wanted to try and just quickly get a little video out to the world and, you know, enlighten you on the origins of Valentine's Day. I don't really want to take up any more of your time today. I think half an hour is plenty. So thank you so much for all of you. I look forward to seeing you all on the next one. Like I said, I think we're probably going to do something during the week in terms of maybe a live, but I'm compiling, I think, the vaccination, the COVID one probably is the next one coming up. So if you've got any suggestions, I would appreciate them in the comments after the show. If you want to maybe leave something in there such as a suggestion, I would love to get into things that are of interest to you, because generally they're things that are of interest to me. So I appreciate all your support. Thank you for all the kind comments. I see you all whenever I pop into one of the other channels and leave a comment. You know, Shawn Michaels, Ghosted, you know, all these guys, Scott Spur, thank you so much. I see you guys around all the time, and I always appreciate the love and support that we get. So thank you so much to you. You are the heart and soul of the community. I hope we can be giving you some good information and doing you justice as we go forward. But I wish you a good Valentine's Day. Like I said, hope you're doing what you love with the ones you love to do them with. Go and treat yourself, get a nice dinner, and make sure you have a nice evening with your loved ones. But thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Tinfoil hat on, I see through the plot. Hidden size clues they thought I forgot. Maps upside down, no ground to the sky. Truth on my mind while the world asks why. Oh, chasing what they hide. tonight. Ancient towers crumble, but secrets remain. Stories of Tartaria lost in the rain. False flags waving, a shadow parade. Digging for answers they want to evade. Picture perfect on the news, but I see the lines. Never take the story straight, I read between signs. Tinfoil hat on, I see through the plot. Hidden signs, clues they thought I forgot. Maps upside down, no ground to the sky. Truth on my mind while the world asks why. Oh, chasing what they hide. Oh, tinfoil on tonight.